Hey, Brick Maniacs! You've seen it on social media, you've seen it on Beyond the Brick, and you've seen it on our channels too. This is the USS Makin Island, created out of Lego, one of the most impressive MOCs pretty much on the face of the earth. People have been absolutely blown away by it, even bringing it partially completed to various shows. It's already kind of made its way around the country. And as you can see, for World War Brick, we got it kind of up to its most up-to-date fashion. And so I've got Dan, the ship's creator, joining me to talk a little bit more about everything that went into getting this ready for World War Brick. And then not only that, but what's left to do still.
Oh, lots.
Yeah, right, exactly. There's tons of details going on here. How big of it was to get the crew, though, to get some motion going on here, really turn this thing into a MOC that looked like a functional deck?
We had some crew before, but it was just the sailors. They were they were from the Makin Island plank owners, the people who donated money to pay for the ship. They were one of the rewards, and all the leftovers. We did this on purpose. They weren't really leftovers; they were extras that we did at the same time.
All
So
hands.
we had the crew, but we didn't have the deck crew. So the deck crew is new, and that was strategically timed to be done as soon as for World War Brick. So this ship has been built and kind of fits and starts. We did a little work on it, then had to stop for a while. Did a bunch more work, and had to stop for a while. So, so now this is the latest iteration. It's as assembled as it's ever been. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more work on it. Every time we move it, it's like a step backwards.
Yeah,
so,
right, exactly.
So after we took it on a bunch of road trips last summer, and by the last trip when we went to the tank farm,
that whole bow kind of pretty much needed a little work.
Right. It needed a lot of TLC. It sat here for a long time until there was actually time to get working on it. And even that was cut short by emergency releases for the Ukraine benefits.
Right, exactly. It's definitely been a labor of love and in your free time, to say the least, to be able to get it up and running.
Which hasn't been much lately.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool to see it now with the deck crew and everything here. So I mean, how close are we to having this to where it would be, pretty much functional, fully stocked, full of Marines and everything?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'd say structurally, you've got the entire structure here. The hull's here. There's no holes in the hull anymore. The well deck is finished. So basically, wherever you see studs, though, it's still not finished.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
wow.
So yeah, the deck needs to be surfaced. We'll do some printing. We'll do some tie downs. The deck will be nice and fancy. I've been accumulating parts. Still working on accumulating parts. So it's a work in progress. But there's a bunch of life rafts. You can see that the catwalk all the way around the deck is just barely started.
Yeah, right.
It's roughed in on both sides, but it's still all the detail work. There's all the fueling stations, the fire stations, all the the ladders, everything. There just still needs to be filled in. We have there's a motor launch on that side. There's all sorts of like dangly bits and doors and ventilation windows, ventilation hatches and stuff all over the ship. They all have to still be added.
Wow.
And of course, the massive aerials, the superstructure, that would be here. You have a mast with a gigantic radar here, an even bigger mast here.
How much taller are we talking, do you think? I mean, just ballpark.
The antennas will probably be about as tall as you and me. So the rear mast is pretty massive.
Right.
Front mast is pretty big too. There's a giant radar on it. But, yeah, that's all needs to be built.
Crazy.
There'll be like a flight control, like a control tower sitting right there too.
Okay.
So, it's roughed in. When they built this thing, they actually built this superstructure as one piece and dropped it on the deck just like we have it here. So this is about this is just the basic parts.
Okay. So, I mean, for those who have maybe only seen it at like Nebraska Brick Days, Brick Fair, Virginia, we got some kits laid out there, but what has been some of the progress work that you've been able to put in since it was displayed back then?
Well, if you're in Nebraska, I don't think we had any of the anti-aircraft.
I don't think so either, right?
That was right before Tank Farm, I think. We got the anti-aircraft done. This superstructure was only partway done.
Right.
I mean, I was building this section in Nebraska, and then did a little bit more to get it to Brick Fair. But it was very just roughed in. So the stacks, there was no railings, nothing. I mean, one of the problems with building a model this big is that, hey, I'm going to work on this thing for today. You work on putting railings on, you work on putting hatches on, doors on, and then like you step back and go,
what did I do?
Yeah, it's not even. It's hardly, unless you know what you're looking for, know what you did. It doesn't seem like you made a dent at all. It's just that massive of a project.
Well, yeah, and I think the undertaking is exactly, you have to see it in person to be able to understand just the scale of it. I know some people, when we had those World War Brick photos, they were like, how many people is that? It's still being dwarfed by the Makin, It's like, the scale is incredible. So when you're thinking about stage 2 here, obviously you need to clear the models off or whatever, but what comes next? What do you think is the next portion?
I'll definitely take the models off, because if they sit in this warehouse, they're going to get dusty. We'll put them into some enclosed bins. The flight deck, I think the next thing I'm going to do is, while it's down this low, it's on the floor, I'm going to build the
Yeah, okay.
all of the aerials, the superstructure. So I'll get this part done because when this is up on a table, it's like building like this. It's really hard. So I'll take advantage of the fact that it's down low, and maybe I'll get some of the rest of the catwalks roughed in, and then we can put some tables on it and do the rest of the hull. So the hull may end up being like the details on the sides may end up being the final thing.
Which would make sense.
I'll take advantage of the fact that it's down here. I can do the deck. Because it's really, on a table, it's really hard to reach over and do this. I can sit on the floor, sit in a chair, and get this stuff taken care of a little bit better this way. Easier.
Yeah, right.
Work harder, not smart. Wait. work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there's the brick mania way and there's the my way. My way is usually the harder way.
Well, and I think it's cool too, you know, as you get the minifigures on here, you start to see some of the motion. I know we'd had those Marines and whatnot in the past, but do you see this as kind of like an ever-evolving MOC in the sense that every time you're setting it up, you know, other than when it finally permanently docks somewhere, you kind of get to do something different with what's taking off, what's taxiing, what's getting ready to go.
The real ship is an evolution. This is an active ship. And they will reconfigure the flight, you know, the air wing and the crew and the complement and, you know, how many Marines, what vehicles are as the mission dictates, as technology dictates. So we have these, when we first started building it, we had like these older Growler models, and they don't even really use those anymore. The Marines. So we have to update the complement, we have to update the vehicles. So we have the LCAC. I think the LCAC will more or less stay the same, but what the LCAC is carrying will probably be different.
Yeah, continue to evolve.
You know, right now we have pretty much almost an entirely full complement of aircraft.
And this is what it would look like?
Yeah, in fact, we might have one or two extra aircraft on the deck.
Sure, okay.
So they typically don't store the aircraft under the deck. The hangar deck below isn't big enough to store all the aircraft. They reserve that for just maintenance and when they need to.
It's like the workshop? Okay, sure.
They store the aircraft on the deck.
But this is pretty accurate to what the Makin's Osprey atonement would look
like?
Right.
Yeah. I think when they have a full air wing, a full squadron, it's 12. We have 11.
Sure.
Our 12th one is sitting over at GHQ right
So we're close.
Yeah. I mean, we do have 12. We just only have 11 on right now. You know, if this goes to, when this goes down to San Diego, we'll probably leave the one that's sitting in GHQ, so we have the copy at headquarters here.
Sure.
So maybe we'll get around to making number 12. So.
Still incredibly impressive when you think about just the production into what it takes to design the kits alone sitting on the top of this surface. I mean, it's literally like an evolutionary era of Brickmania sitting on top of this, which, I mean, ultimately, what a better way to display some of the modern models that we've been able to build than by putting it on top of the ship that it belongs to.
There will be an evolution. Well, these are CH-53Es. We will eventually change them to Ks. We'll actually replace these helicopters with more modern ones. Just like if we had Harriers, we would have replaced them. We just happen to have
the F-35, right?
F-35. So they're doing the same thing in the Navy. They're phasing out all the Harriers, and the Marine Corps actually is phasing out the Harriers, replacing them with the F-35Bs.
So thus far in the project, what has been the pain in your side? What was the toughest? What was the toughest part to capture that you were kind of like, oh man, I didn't have told this much time for it, but here we go.
The curve of the hull for sure.
Yeah, okay.
The bow is this big sweeping angle. Fortunately, we were able to make a digital map of that. So that created a shortcut to getting this curved slope, curved hull. But just building it in place and having to count, it was like literally row by row.
Literally stud by stud, yeah, okay.
Right. Yeah, and that's not what I'm used to. I'm used to kind of eyeballing things, but it looks way better. When I eyeball it, I can usually get it. But this way, it looks great. But man, is it ever heavy?
Yeah,
this
no
bow
kidding.
section takes
solid brick.
Four of us. It's not solid, but it sure feels like it.
It feels like it, right?
So
when comparing it to the Missouri, is there really anything that you were able to take from that initial build to translate into this, or is it pretty much a completely different beast?
It's built the exact same way.
Okay, cool.
So there's an internal frame. In this case, we built the internal frame out of traditional Lego 2x4 bricks. I mean, if you take the flight deck off, like really, that's what's inside.
Multicolored, yeah.
So the Missouri on the inside is actually like towers and Technic beams and stuff. This is so big that it might actually just be better just to build it traditional,
solid
brick on brick, and just build it studs up. Even though it studs out on the sides, it studs up on the interior, and the sides actually lock into the brick. So it is you can't really shake this thing apart. It is locked together, top to bottom, left to right. And it's pretty massive in that regard.
Wow, yeah, and the structural integrity when we're talking about the weights of literally hundreds of pounds of Lego, I mean, that's just like.
Yeah, you could probably kick holes in here, and I imagine about by the third kick you'd hit something solid, break your foot.
Yeah, right.
So one of the cross beams, cross members.
Cool.
So yeah, I think the biggest hurdle is it's not really the construction, it's the scale. It's just that when I'm going to set out to tile the deck, I mean that's going to be like weeks-long process. It's
Right.
So that's one of the reasons I'm not going to tile big vast swaths of the area because I know that I'm going to miss something. I want to get all those vent holes, all the hatches, everything in there before we even attempt to tile this thing.
And I can understand that because the tiling, when you think about it, is kind of that final touch to like make it look clean, but you want to make sure your details are all in a row
It's
first.
like the frosting on the cake.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, it's not just the frosting; it's the piping. You got to do all the building up to that point before you can write "Happy Birthday" on it.
So is there anything else left to do that you're still kind of like, I'm wondering how I'm going to approach this or what,
I have a pretty good idea. It's just scale.
Yeah,
it's just
sure.
a matter of finding enough time. I don't think there's anything scary, nothing I've done before. There's going to be right now it's all angular, it's square. There's a whole bunch of round things that need to be added to this. So
Okay.
That's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but it's nothing I haven't done before. I would like, the ultimate stretch goal would be to like motorize the elevators. That would be
Sure.
cool, and motorize everything. So when you just get one plug it in, everything like does what it's supposed to. That would be the ultimate goal. I don't know if I'm ever going to have enough time to do that. So.
But it'd be interesting to see what the future holds for this kind of thing. I mean, it's like everybody's mock. Do they ever really stop evolving? There's always things that you can go
You
back
can always
and continue
fiddle.
to add.
You can always fiddle. So I don't know if it's ever going to be done, but there's going to be a certain point where it's like, it's done enough.
Well, and obviously visually it's impressive to come check out pretty much no matter what stage it's at. And now that you're starting to see, like I said, all the motion and vehicles and whatnot getting landed on there, that's pretty cool. We've even got some neat stuff over on the side here, hiding away in the hangar bays and whatnot.
Yeah, there's been a lot of contributions. So this isn't. It would be a lie to say, hey, this is all my build. The stuff on the deck, in the deck. There's many people contributed. Many hands have contributed to building.
Well, and then there's not to mention the fact that the plank owners were a huge part of being able to just make this whole thing possible. Hence the reason their names are on the side of the ship, and some of their crewmen are quite literally there. But how essential was that help in being able to make this become a reality, especially when you were getting this project up and going?
Yeah, I mean that was tremendous. We received a lot of public support. The plank owners contributing directly cash, of course, helped out tremendously.
Literally bricklink orders.
And what we ended up doing is buying an entire collection. Somebody was getting out of their like bricklink they've been collecting for years, and they're like, I just want an easy way out, and we bought their collection, and that went. A lot of that is inside under the deck. And
Sure.
It's never easy. We weren't just able to go, hey, Lego, give us some parts.
Yeah, right.
So
That's not quite how it works. What do you want them for? Oh, nothing.
building a ship.
A boat.
Yeah, a giant canoe, so I can get to Brick Fair.
Very, very cool. So still plenty of work to be done, but obviously the progression to get this far, nothing but impressive, and really cool to see it set up and ready for World War Brick. It was definitely the centerpiece here. We had some pretty impressive mocks in addition to it, but I think this is definitely one thing where, man, even when we've been wheeling it in, like at Brick Fair, Virginia, when they saw those cars come in, you just see the heads going like, what has Dan done this time? What is
the entire Death Star coming in here?
Is that to scale? So yeah, it's just really, really incredible, and definitely cool to check out. Anything else you want to go over before we wrap up the update?
I think that's all it's updated. I mean, every time we see it, it's a little bit bigger, a little bit more refined, a little bit more finished. And I think the biggest thing this time is we almost doubled the aircraft complement. So that really helps. It really makes it look more impressive.
Yeah, definitely adds to it all. So an impressive creation, and one that is going to continue to evolve. So we will be posting regular updates here whenever we're able to get pretty progress done on this, so we can check in and you guys know exactly where this is at. And then obviously stay tuned on social media, etc., to find out where the Makin is moving before it finally docks at San Diego, or maybe just here when it's available for the public to come check out, because it's definitely one you don't want to miss.
I don't think the public's going to be able to check this out. I honestly think the next time this is going to be on public display will be
in San Diego.
We'll do another video before we move it, so that way we know how it goes back together when we get to San Diego.
For our benefit as well as yours. So there you have it. Well, Dan, thank you very much for joining me, and thank you guys very much for watching.